Go for your life.
I found the thing to turn the thing back on, but then when the thing was on, the other thing still wouldn't load. But then it loaded, and I don't know what the fuck's happening. But it's on now, so we're just going to assume everything's good, and I'll work out what the problem was later.
Yeah, man. Let's fucking rage and worry about fucking problems later.
You get your own goddamn cornbread.
So we're on it. We're doing it. We're doing a thing.
Yeah, we should make it official. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventure. But welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventure, where we talk about all things rock and metal and a load of other bullshit in between. I am not Phil.
And I am similarly not Dave. That's really hard to say when your tongue doesn't work.
Do you mean like due to booze, or does your tongue, have you just got a shit tongue?
No, I think my tongue's generally actually quite good. It's just when I'm drunk, it's the first thing to go.
First thing to go, I find, is motor function.
What's motor function?
Like fine motor function. Like I can't play guitar when I'm shit-faced. I can't use a knife and fork properly when I'm shit-faced. Silly things like that.
Yeah, I was just struggling to hit my face with my curry just then, so that was...
Yeah, that's it, man. That's exactly what I mean. You've got food on the fork, and you know where your mouth is, but you bring it towards your eye or to your cheek or something instead.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was like doing it.
It was like I was trying to feed my beard. Like I say, like I don't know how much fucking curry is in my beard.
Before we talk rock and metal,
yeah,
we generally just talk about shit that we've done this week. But we only cast pod on Tuesday. And now it's date of recording today is it was like the 28th when we did it last. It's the 2nd of May now. So not many days have passed in between. I'm not going to lie, Phil. Apart from the stuff I've done like immediately today, I've got fuck all to tell.
Well,
I've just been at work.
Let me regale you with a story.
Oh, is it about when you found the jazz mag?
I can tell you that story. It's not very long or particularly exciting, but it's a thing.
Is the story I found the jazz mag?
Yeah, but let me build it up a bit and give it some fucking bells and whistles. Right. So let me cast your minds back to the early 1990s. There was a...
Remember it well.
Yeah, there was a precedent set that any woods you would go into, forestry you would go into, you would find in one bush or other at least one page from a porn mag.
Yeah.
Preferably, there was, multiple pages or an entire magazine.
There were always certain spots that you were almost guaranteed to find a wank mag.
Yeah.
Like you knew as a young teen that if you wanted to see some fanny, head to a lay-by where there's a bin, and it won't be in the bin. There will be a jazz mag behind the bin.
Yeah.
Between hay bales. Did you grow up? It was quite rural where you were, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't honestly say that I found any in between hay bales because I'm not generally. I didn't, regardless of the fact that I grew up basically surrounded entirely by farms. I didn't spend a lot of time in farms myself.
Bav of Bav and Fluff Screamasters, his dad used to run a farm, and me and him used to spend days up there in the summer holidays and stuff, fucking around on a quad bike and doing all sorts of stuff. And there was always wank mags. There was proper jazz material stuffed in between hay bales all the time.
Well, let me in that case, I might as well fucking turn this into a fucking diatribe. So back in the day, when I was at school, I had some friends. So one of my friends, Tom, we used to go and hang out at his granddad's farm. He had a like a static caravan. We used to stop, we used to stop over there and then hang out. And hang out at the campground and make friends and stuff and go fishing and chill out, hit some golf balls, random shit. And it was a good time.
What did you hit golf balls with?
Golf club, weirdly enough.
Well, that's a bit boring and ordinary, but carry on.
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say like sheep, picking sheep up.
So that's my farming stories. So I did occasionally hang out on farms, but not often. Some of my friends were farmers or family of farmers. But I also had another friend called Tim and a different friend called
Tim
Tom.
and Tom.
Well, I
Tim
had
and two Toms.
I had hundreds of friends called Tom. Tom is a very common name in my neck of the woods.
Wow.
When I was at school, I remember being in a class with 4 Phils, weirdly enough. How many Phils do you know?
Like right now, off the top of my head, 4, including you. That's off the top of my head, though.
Off the top of my head, I think I only know 2. I know me and Big Phil off the top of my head.
There's you and Big Phil. You remember, Cole?
Yeah.
Big Cole, his old business partner, Kirsty. Her boyfriend is called Phil, and I've got an uncle Phil.
Okay. Well,
That's
no, neither of those people, so it's
right off the top of my head. If I thought about it, I bet I know fucking loads. But what do you think it's like being Dave?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's not a lot of Phils, but I ended up in a class, 30 people, 4 of which were called Phil. How weird is that? It's pretty fucking weird.
I think it was a common name, like, among our generation. I went to school with a lot
Yeah,
of Phils.
but why? Because, like, whenever I talk to people, they always say it's an old people's name. I'm like, I'm not that fucking old. Yeah. Like, you see people like on shows, like when you see them on TV shows, usually Phil, apart from Phil Mitchell, they're usually like fairly aged gentlemen. Anyway, that aside, so I had these other friends called Tim and Tom, and we went on school used to do this thing every year called outdoor ed. Do you know anything like outdoor education? So you'd go like camping, and you'd do like a bit of raft building and boating, and
I think
climb on rope bridges and
was
shit.
What was there was a name? Was it orienteering something?
Yeah,
some shit like that.
Stuff like that. Yeah, orienteering's like you look at a map and you've got to find this point and then that point and that point, and it's kind of like a scavenger hunt but with no fucking prize.
Wow, when you say it like that, it makes it sound really fucking depressing.
Yeah,
just out in the woods with no reason.
I like that, but that's it. I enjoyed doing it, but there was no point to it. Is the problem?
Yeah.
But my friend Tim, he, I don't know, he either he didn't like me or he really liked Tom to the point where he didn't want me to go on outdoor ed and be part of their group. So a couple of weeks before, we'd broken into this caravan near his house that was in the middle of this field that was full of fucking jazz mags. So
nice.
So we each took some jazz mags, and I happened to have some in my bag. And this should have fucking alerted me to the situation. This day, he'd said, "Hey, Phil, do you want to show me those jazz mags?" And I was like, okay. So I showed him them. And then I put them back in my bag. And I thought nothing of it. But he'd asked me it specifically so he knew if I had them with me, so he could dob me in to try and get me banned from the trip. And then they took me into...
Why would you do that? What kind of a cunt would do that?
A massive cunt. Dislike the dude. Well, I mean, he might be a dude now. He might be all right now. But like at the time, he was like, "What the fuck, man? Not right there." Apparently,
yeah. But I mean, he might be a rapist as well. I mean, if we're just speculating.
Apparently, he chased my friends around his house with a loaded shotgun as well. But that's by the by.
Whoa.
Anyway, so that's just an apparently. I wasn't there. But yeah, so I got hauled into the head of year's office, who happens to also be the head of RE. And religious people aren't generally, they're not generally known for their acceptance of people imbibing in porn mags and such. So
unless it's child porn.
Yeah, exactly. And this wasn't. This was just normal porn. So they were like, "What the fuck kind of freak looks at normal titties?" So she's like,
"Oh man,"
she's like, I find all this very offensive and disgusting and black. I'm like, well, of course you do. A, you're female. B, you're probably a lesbian. RE, she's going to be a lesbian. Yeah. And C, you know, it's not for you. It's in my fucking bag. It's for my fucking 17, 16, 15, however old I was, year-old mates. But yeah, so he tried to get me banned. I got some shit. My mum got a letter sent home, which was cool. And then I didn't
what did
even
that letter say.
just letting them know that I'd been found with what I'd been found with. She was there thumbing through the fucking thing while I was in the room with her as well. I was like, what is
Your
this?
mum was?
No, not my
Your
mum.
mum or the RE teacher?
The RE teacher.
Yeah,
but I
she'll
didn't
be
even
making a mental note.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, she put it back in a drawer. Of course she did, because she was fapping about it later. But I didn't
Mad
even
fap.
get a band. Like, I still went on outdoor ed. It wasn't even a fucking thing. It was just some bullshit. And she was like, oh, but you've got to be careful because black marks go on your permanent record forever. And I'm like, at the time I thought, shit, permanent record. And now I think, what the fuck? Who even cares? School, fuck off.
Yeah, man, I was never a fan of school.
Mm.
I always did okay, but I never enjoyed it. I mean, I had friends and stuff, but I just never like got into the whole idea that I appreciated it was important, but I never really understood the idea of like, oh, it's best days of your life. Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
No, I
Being treated like
appreciate
a
it.
fucking prisoner.
I appreciated it was important because I got told constantly it was important that I did well on my GCSEs. And I did okay on my GCSEs.
Which were not important.
Well, this is it. And if I'd have actually applied myself, I could have done fucking awesome on my GCSEs. But I gave zero fucks and I was high most of the time. So I didn't see the point. But anyway, by the by, flash forward to 2020. To our younger listeners, you might not even realize what a fucking porn mag is, because they don't generally have them a lot now. I like the picture, dude. Thank you.
As soon as
Dave has just sent me a photograph of some dude with like the worst haircut I've ever seen in my fucking life. Where was I? But yeah, 2020. A pornographic magazine is a magazine, as you would expect, that basically it looks like Pornhub but in paper form.
Yeah, imagine a magazine. A magazine's even a thing anymore? Like for kids, I mean, people of our age will buy magazines. Do kids buy magazines now?
I'm not 100% sure. They've probably got SpongeBob magazine and things like that still go about.
Well,
I don't really know.
Yeah, my kids are of an age range where you'd think I'd have seen it if they do, like 9, 11 and 17. And I don't remember the last time a magazine came in my house. Like when Ethan was really little, he loved like the Lego Ninjago magazine.
Yeah,
but only because he got a toy with it.
Yeah.
He wanted the toy. He didn't give a fuck about. He ain't going to read for fun.
No.
He's not weird. Annabelle, she loves reading. Like she genuinely enjoys it.
So she is weird.
She is weird, but people who enjoy reading aren't reading fucking magazines. They're reading books.
Or porn.
Well, in that case, I fucking love reading.
Yeah, man. But yeah, flash forward to 2020, and I left work to start my my round the other day at the old delivery office, and I find so there's like a grassy knoll where generally is dumped the kind of stuff you'd find in a charity shop, like clothes you'd find in a charity shop that people can't actually get into the charity shop, or they just want to discard.
It's fly tipping.
Yeah, essentially. Whereas a mattress that has obviously been fly tipped, next to which is a bag of clothes which is obviously fly tipped, and on top of this mattress is an open porn mag with a woman called Katrina spreading her lips for a lady to lick.
They've always got names like Katrina.
Yeah,
it's never Linda or Tracy. You know what I mean? It's always like Katrina, Sophia.
Yeah,
you know, Corinne.
Yeah, kind of moderately exotic, but not so far to the point where you give somebody the wrong ethnicity by giving them a name.
Oh yeah, complete. I think back in the 90s when they were doing this, it was like these women had come in and they'd need a stage name of sorts, but they couldn't give them a name that was so ridiculous it was obviously fake.
Yeah.
So they would name them. They must, I don't know, man. They must have had a directory of like moderately exotic names to give to white women in their 20s. You know what I mean?
Yeah. White college students who are trying to get through college but can't quite afford it.
What do you think when people judge the women in their magazines and stuff? Well, maybe not the women in their magazines, because like quite often the women in their magazines are making, porn movies and whatnot as well. And don't get me wrong, I'm not judging. I don't give a fuck if they're happy and they're safe. What's it got to do with me?
Can I just stop you a
judge?
second? Can you hear my wife downstairs?
Yeah, man.
Fucking hell, man.
I keep hearing her laugh.
Door's closed. She's downstairs, and you can still hear this shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, I can hear her laugh, mate. But that's good because it's like a laughter track. If we can time it right, if I can tell a joke and then she laughs at least once in the next however long we're doing this, bollocks, then I reckon we've got a winner. It'll sound like a canned laughter.
Did you hear my cat then?
No, it's a cat laughing.
No, my cat just fucking hissed at me because I picked it up and lifted it off the table. It goes fucking batshit at me sometimes.
You in my room.
I'm generally terrified of it any time that I'm like touching it because I'm like, if I stroke it, I'm like, this could be cool for any amount of time. But then now and again, she'll just go, no, I'm sick of this shit. I'm going to fucking take a swipe and I'm shitting my pants.
Cats be fucking temperamental, man, because they'll love it 1 minute, but there's no build up. There's no.
You're just like, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, fuck you. Get your fucking hands off me. What do you think? I'm here for your pleasure, and they just fucking go at you.
I ain't that kind of pussy, man.
There's no fucking around with a cat. No fucking around. So, yeah, porn mags in.
Porn mags are still a thing, apparently.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you.
Do you think it was someone like of what?
So, like, porn aside, what do you think of strippers? Because I know a lot of people that think if you're a stripper, like, well, not me, obviously, I haven't got the body for it, but if female stripper, like, if you met a girl who was a teenager, like 19 or early 20s, and she was a stripper, there's stigma that goes with that job.
Well, we did. We had a friend called Haley. She was working at Privilege in Scarborough. And
Lisa worked at Privilege.
I don't know Lisa.
Yeah, it might have been before you were there, actually, thinking about it.
But yeah, I don't think... I mean, as far as stigmas go, I don't think any less of them for it. If anything, I'm like, that's pretty fucking hot.
Even the hot thing aside, honestly, I've got a lot of respect for someone who thinks I need a job. What hours can I work? Because all the strippers I've known were students when they got into it, and they might have carried it on afterwards. But it's like, I need a job. I need to earn a lot of money in the hours that suit. I can't work during the day. I'm confident. I'll take my clothes off. And you know what really pisses me off is when people say, well, it's exploiting women. There's no stigma against a woman. It's exploiting women. I'm like, no, it isn't. Is it? Fuck. It's so empowering to it. It's exploiting men, getting their wallets out to see a pair of tits. The men are the ones being exploited, but they go into it completely of their own volition.
They know they're going to go in there and spend the fucking wads. So what difference?
Exactly. So who gives a fuck? Why would you waste your time worrying about, being offended on behalf of strippers or behalf of other people because there are strippers?
I don't understand offense, man. I just don't get it.
I don't get it. Anyone who listens to this may have noticed we're not particularly up on what is or is not offensive. We just can't say what we think's funny.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. So what have you been doing other than randomly finding like outdoor wank setups?
Well,
because the fact it's on a mattress with fucking pillars and a cover.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Some motherfuckers live in there. That is an outdoor communal wank zone.
Work's been a bit weird. On top of that, they've decided at my work that they don't want to deliver mail on a Saturday anymore for the time being until the pandemic, the fundemic's over.
Only work when it's absolutely necessary. That's
that's not even it. I still had to go out today. I was only delivering parcels. I wasn't delivering mail, so it means that I've got twice as much mail to deliver on Monday.
So
it's weird.
What the fuck is the point now if you're out delivering anyway?
I don't know. It's crazy.
Do you reckon that might be? I don't think we got any mail today. But we did get two parcels.
Yeah, that's it. You won't get any post on a Saturday. Nobody gets any post on a Saturday. They announced it in the mail. I don't know, but they announced it in the mail the other in the mail. Fucking hell! In the news the other day, which basically means they're tied into it, because if they go back on it, everybody thinks Royal Mail is a cunt. So
Right.
now we're not delivering mail, even though it's a London thing essentially. And
Well, yeah,
up
but
north, it's
London
not really
is the UK, isn't it?
Well, yeah. To Rico back, it seems to be.
Yeah, man.
What a dickhead. Anyway.
Dickhead.
So that was a bit weird. It's been pretty busy, but I'm loving life. I've been practicing guitar a lot on my evenings and drums a lot on my mornings before I go to work.
What have you been playing? What's your jams guitar wise?
Well, I'm trying to. So I start off just doing major scale and minor scale up and down the neck,
Nice.
just to kind of warm my fingers up. And then I've got these books that I got back in the 90s, so I'm just working through them. They're do you know Diagnosti? They do like those pay by the month magazines or whatever. So they do like build your own skeleton of a spider and shit like that. And one of them they did was a guitar one, and I got it back in the 90s. So I've been just working my way through that. I'm on like number 19. I'm just working through them every day. I'll do 1 or 2 books and just kind of see where I get to. So that's pretty fun. But also just kind of jamming out some riffs that I get off the top of my head when I get bored of that.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm trying to just kind of strengthen my fingers up, because my finger positioning and stuff's always been pretty bad. I want to be able to shred, but I hold the guitar like a blues player, so my thumb's on top of the neck, and
I do that a lot with the thumb.
Yeah, it's the only way I can bend usually, but I feel like if I practice enough, then eventually I'll get strong enough fingers that I'll be able to bend it, like fucking Paul Gilbert and shit.
I'm just not quick enough for shred, but I've put a lot of work into, not even like, not like since I've been playing guitar, I've always concentrated on it, but just, I guess even subconsciously, I think it's with playing with Daz. His vibrato is almost perfect. Like he can bend like a 2-step bend and find that vibrato every time. Like he never drops it, never does it wrong. And I've kind of had to do that to keep up with him.
There's a fuck ton easier to bend on a fucking Ibanez
when you play with
than it is on a
nines.
fucking Gibson.
Oh, without a doubt. But when despite the fact, like even when he's using his Les Paul, he's on 10s.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally he puts 9s on it. And his Ibanez is always 8s or 9s.
Yeah. Whereas
I'm like 10 to 52, if not 11 to 52 across the board. So I'm going to have a harder time bending. But I've noticed, I mentioned, what's that? A harder time bending. Title of my sex tape. But last time I talked about those jam videos that I was,
man,
I became like,
so they upload a track and you jam along to it.
That's right. And I became kind of briefly obsessed with the idea that I had to post a jam every day. And I've stepped back from it now. I haven't put anything on since last weekend. A couple of tracks have come up where I've been thinking like, yeah, if I get time, I wouldn't mind jamming along with that. But the time didn't come up, so I just didn't bother, If I find time, I'll do it, but I've got to try and keep it casually, or I just get too obsessive. Well, we talked about this last time, but what I have noticed is when I watch those videos back, I had a lot of comments about my vibrato and bending. And I was like, well, I've never really noticed it myself. Yeah, very positive. Yeah, that was some of my main, because I don't play fast at all. I'm not a speed guy. I got a lot of consistent praise on how melodic I was, like how musical. I wasn't just slamming licks and runs in for no reason. I wasn't particularly lick heavy in terms of, kind of signature licks that certain guitarists have. I was more, it was always very melodic. It was very musical, and the bends and the vibrato were always good. That's like the consistent compliments that I got across everything I posted. But it's not something that I'd ever been aware of in my own playing. So I went back and watched some, because obviously I've still got them on the Dave pad, and I went back and watched some of the videos, and I thought it's not. I mean, I even watched one of them without the sound on because it was about watching what my fingers were doing and how fluid I looked and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed I don't look at the neck as often as I thought I did. But when I do, I stiffen right up. So maybe it's best if I try not to look at the neck because normally
weirdly enough, when I'm playing, I mean, I'm not any great player by any means, but when I'm playing my scales, I can. But when I'm playing my scales, I fuck up a lot more when I'm concentrating and looking at it. When I'm actually just closing my eyes and thinking about what shape my fingers should be making,
yeah, man,
that's when I'm fine. I can go up and down the neck fine. But when I'm actually looking at it and concentrating, like all the time, I don't know what it is. It's when I go up the major scale is fine. When I come back down, there's always a one bum note that I hit, and I'm like, why? Why do I always hit that fucking note? But then when I close my eyes, I'm like, it's fine.
That's the thing. That's exactly it. Like I was unaware that how fluid I was. Like I say, even watching it with the volume off, so I'm paying attention only to the movements, mainly in the left hand, in the fretting hand, because if I watch my right hand, I appear very disjointed. I uppick more than I thought I did.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to see that, it doesn't feel uncomfortable, but to watch myself doing it, it doesn't look weird. Right. You know what I mean? So I try to ignore what I'm picking. Bollocks! But I noticed how I do look a lot more fluid on my fretting hand than I thought I would. But the thing I noticed after, like I say, after people commenting on it, it was the vibrato and stuff that I noticed. I appeared very comfortable in that, you know. And if I'm honest, it was quite a shock because I've never been very good at like bending a note up and holding a vibrato.
Yeah.
If I've got to bend like a step up, if I'm bending a full tone bend and putting vibrato on, I would almost always bend it down.
Right.
But because I've been doing these jams and there's a lot of lead involved of it, and I'm not a lead player, I found that I'm bending up because I'm bending on like the E and the B string. So you have to bend up. You haven't got the room to bend down, and I'm still putting that vibrato on. So I was quite surprised, like pleasantly surprised at that.
I pretty much always bend up. I don't know why I struggle to bend down.
I'm exactly the opposite, but I've found, like I say, just recently, it appears that I can bend up, and I just hadn't realised. You know what I mean? I've kind of it's something I must have been forced to learn subconsciously.
Yeah.
But it's like you were saying, if you think about it, if I sit with a guitar now and think, right, I'll bend that note up to see how much I can put the vibrato on, it will be wrong, and the vibrato will be all wrong. But if I'm just playing along and it requires a bend up rather than down because of its position, you know, dependent on the string you're playing.
Like if it's on a high string.
Exactly. So if it requires that upward bend, if I'm just playing it as part of a piece, I'll bend it perfectly and I'll add the vibrato and it will look and sound correct. But if I try to do that, like I need to practice up bends and vibrato, I fuck it up every time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I seem to do a lot of things backwards because it's like when I'm doing like tapping and stuff like that, I can tap
masturbating.
When I'm tapping the neck of the guitar, I can tap
in the neck. Sorry, what do you mean? Oh, tapping. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I thought the topping.
I can go up, so I could go doodly 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 doodly. Fine, but diddly diddly diddly, I can't do stuff downwards, which everybody seems to find pull-offs easier, but I find tapping up easier, a lot easier. So like for instance, Tim, my guitarist in my band, he'll go doodly 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 doodly, fairly like not massively quickly, but okay. But he can't do doodly 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 doodly, which I can do like all day super fast. It's weird. It's like how
I'm just thinking about tapping.
Like I can do like eruption and stuff like that's kind of easier for me than stuff like like my band will play stuff for instance like North Lane stuff where there's like taps going all over the place.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're tapping across strings
Exactly,
too,
and I
which is
can't
10 times more
exactly. I
difficult
can't do
than.
stuff like that, but I can't even. I've never tried it, so I can't even get my head around how it would work so much.
See, I have tried that kind of thing, but again, I know I keep saying it, but I'm not a lead player, so all these lead techniques to me are things that I've done on and off over the years, but nothing that I've ever
Nothing you've
mastered. You know what I mean?
concentrated on, yeah.
Yeah, completely. I am a rhythm player through and through, and it comes from being a frontman in almost every band I've ever been in.
Yeah, it's
Every
difficult to
time
play
I've been on
lead while
stage
you're
with a
singing.
guitar. Exactly. I've always got the guitar strapped to me and a mic right in front of me. So I've never really given it the attention I probably should have, because I find when I do give it that attention, although I can't necessarily play fast, like physically, I'm just not built to move that way. I have got faster through, again, playing with Daz. He's forced me to be a better lead player because he likes when we play together and harmonize and stuff.
Yeah.
And I can hold my own, but I'm not the guy that can just sit. I'm not that lead guy that can sit and say like, oh, I'll drop a solo in there. I have to write a solo and plan it and learn it and play it the same, you know?
Improv is not my jam.
No, not at all. Not at all. But
maybe one day, but I've not really concentrated on it. You know, my lead is not something I've ever kind of concentrated particularly on. If I've ever played a guitar, I've been singing at the same time.
Yeah, that's it, man. And that's the thing. It's not that it holds you back because it's a different skill altogether. And that's the point. It's not that it makes you.
Did you hear my cat then?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's what she does. Like, I'll be sat there stroking her, and all of a sudden she's just like, "No, I've had enough of that shit."
Fuck you.
Yeah, she sounds fucking evil as well, doesn't she?
Yeah, I did. It was right until the end. I didn't know what that noise was, and then I realized it was a cat.
Yeah,
it started. Like, it wasn't cat-like. Yeah, it wasn't cat-like when it started.
I can do that, and it won't offend her because she's deaf as well as having no nose. But she's now asleep on my knee, so it's not like she's like, "Fuck you, I'm off." She's just laying down and gone to sleep on me now, so I can't fucking move because I'm gonna fucking try and move her, and she's gonna claw the shit out of me.
That's it. It's I can do what I want. You will do as you're told.
Innit? I've told.
But the tapping thing, I can only tap 4-note runs.
Right.
Like da na 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 na
Yeah.
na na na, yeah. But triplet tapping like da na 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 na. So when you tap, you would, with your right hand, you hit one note, hammer it, pull it off. That's da na. You know what I mean? That's your on your left hand, on your fretting hand, you're holding one note solid and you're tapping with one other finger. You're hammering with one other finger.
Yeah.
When you do the triple, you're da na 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 na. For some reason, my middle finger comes back up like I'm doing a 4-note tap every time. So I end up going into a 4-note tap when I'm trying to do a triple.
I'm the opposite. Is like I can do threes, but not fours.
Fours to me just seem more logical because your fingers are moving out of sequence with each other, that nothing's touching the board at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas with a triplet, they come on at the same time and come off separately. And it's that coming on at the same time that I can't do. I end up slipping into a 4-note.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Phil.
We've talked about playing guitar for a long time. Should we move on to something else now?
Let's do it. So tell me, we have a new feature.
Yeah, we do. What have we? What did I message you about the other day? And we've implemented.
So you said to me it would be a cool idea if we took 2 albums, like one reasonably old and one reasonably new, or more modern at least. And you said it'd be cool if we talked about each, because it not like as reviews, just because there'd be a running idea of comparison, like old metal, new metal, or more modern metal.
Yeah, like not even super old with these ones. It's like
no, not at all, not at all. But what?
Something?
2012 to 2020, so 8 years. Yeah. So what I suggested was it would be cool if not every time, but now and then, if we chose 2 albums by the same band, like a very early record, if they've had a big run, an early record and a more modern record, and talk about how they sound either different or the same or whatever. So what we thought would be fun for this first one last time we talked about the Viscera record that's just come out.
Yeah.
Obsidian.
Which I hadn't listened to, but have since.
Yeah, because well, that's the thing. You said you hadn't listened to it at the time, but we've talked about Viscera on and off quite a bit because they're a reasonably new band. Well, they've just put their first record out last month, Obsidian, and well, it was awesome. It's a fucking great record.
Yeah, man.
So we thought that'd be a good
He's
one.
on the front cover and everything.
I actually haven't looked at the artwork at all. I have not even glanced at it. But what we thought would be cool, because Jamie, who's the singer, the vocalist in Viscera, he was the vocalist for Heart of a Coward, which again we've mentioned before. So we thought it'd be cool to compare Heart of a Coward to Viscera and just talk about that. So we chose the first Heart of a Coward record, which was Hope and Hindrance from 2012.
Which is the first album that had Jamie on it. The first Heart of a Coward album that had Jamie on it.
Well, to be fair, it was their first album, wasn't it? Because before that, they'd only done an EP.
Yeah, which had, I don't know who he is, but he's more of a kind of like a hardcore vocalist. It's like screamy compared to
very
like
much,
brutal.
To be fair, I had trouble finding that first EP. It's not on Spotify. I had to go elsewhere to find it, but not for these purposes. So Hope and Hindrance by Heart of a Coward was released in 2012. It was their first full length, and it was also the first, as you say, with Jamie. And just last month in 2020, April of 2020, I might be wrong, it might be March actually, Obsidian was the first record dropped by Viscera. Again, with him as the frontman. So you are far more familiar with Heart of a Coward than I am, but that particular record I have listened to quite a bit. So why don't you start us off? What are your immediate thoughts on either both or one album or the other? Or
well, Killing Fields. No, I can't be asked to go through track by track. We're not doing that kind of shit. Well, Hope and Hindrance, I would say it's a lot catchier in that it's got definite elements that are meant to stick out and sound like they're meant to grab you, and like Around the Girl in 80 Days, We Stand as One, Shade.
Do you know, Around a Girl in 80 Days, that's track 3, I think. And you know, that was the one that struck me as the most Viscera-like.
I guess it's kind of the heaviest one, but it's weird. It's so
Viscera. I mean, Heart of a Coward are heavy and genty and detuned and whatnot.
Yeah, but it's a different kind of band, and I didn't expect it to be as different as it was. Like
Viscera's heavier.
Yeah, it's more. There's a lot more death metal and black metal elements.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There's like a lot more like fast double pedal stuff. And
do you know my overriding thought among, like, before going into, you know, specific elements or whatever, my overriding thought after listening to each record back to back was how, and I don't mean this as like an insult, but Hope and Hindrance is so it's they play with timings more.
Mm-hmm.
They've attempted to be more not progressive. I guess they've attempted to be a bit more tech.
There is proggy elements to it. I mean, that first album especially, like after that, the timings weren't really messed around with as much. After that, it's all 4/4 with polyrhythms over the top of it.
Well, you see, that polyrhythm thing again, though, is an example of what I'm talking about. They've got that element in there, but Viscera don't do that at all. They're very kind of straightforward, super heavy. But Viscera sounds more grown up. Like Heart of a Coward is of a time, or at least Hope and Hindrance is of a time. You couldn't listen to that and think it just came out. It sounds like early 2010s influence metal, whereas Viscera, you could have told me that came out in the 90s. And I'd believe it. It just sounds like a more rounded, grown up, and it's but oddly as heavy and more, for want of a better term, as evil as it sounds. The Heart of a Coward stuff is kind of darker.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
It's an odd juxtaposition, I think, between the two. How one is more, again, for want of a better term, the Heart of a Coward stuff is a touch more immature. Like they're making the tech elements sounded like, well, this is what metal bands do now. Whereas Viscera is just fuck what metal bands do now. This is what we want to do.
I get where you're coming from. I think so. Hope and Hindrance is like I say, it's more accessible. I think there's poppier elements to it. There's it's definitely like they're thinking about the audience.
Yeah, very much like the gang vocal
more.
thing.
Yeah. Whereas I think Obsidian sounds like you say, kind of fuck what people are expecting. We're playing what we want to play. It's a heavy album, and there is like you can hear all the elements of all their influences. There's like a lot of synth going on in it. My favorite bit
that's
is
the thing is,
I forget what song it is.
It's on Lamb to the Slaughter.
No, I know, and there's that bit where it's like, but there's one that's got like kind of like 80s pads at the end of it, and I forget which song it is.
Oh, I don't remember that off the top of my head, to be honest.
I can't even remember what the lyric is that it's going over the top of, but it's like at the end, it's kind of like fading out with it. It's one of the later tunes.
It's a great record, start to finish.
Yeah, I dig it.
Obsidian. And I think it's got a really good flow to it. Like
there's nothing that stands out like it does on Hope and Hindrance. Hope and Hindrance has like definite like standout moments that I'm like,
oh yeah,
well, that's a cool jam. That's a cool jam, and that's a cool riff and stuff. There's nothing that kind of stabs me instantly like that. But I was listening to it basically on loop for the past few days.
What, Obsidian?
Obsidian, yeah.
Right.
And now I'm kind of getting used to the songs and stuff, and I'll listen to them over and over again.
Yeah,
you know, there's definitely the tunes in there that stick in my head, like Delilah. The chorus to that, it sticks in your head.
Yeah, well, this is the other thing about them is, as much as it's heavy, there's some really melodic moments to it that are actually kind of really well. This goes back to the juxtaposition thing. It's really well thought out. It's very musical.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's very melodic when it wants to be. And even like the vocal lines that he's written, with what's happening under that chorus, the way he sings the chorus in Delilah, that the interval that he chooses, a Delilah, Delilah, that doesn't seem obvious. That's not the immediate melodic choice that you make with what's happening underneath it. So it's obvious that a lot of thought has gone into the melody rather than just, you know, the out and out violence and the heavy factor. Whereas on Hope and Hindrance, a lot of thought has gone into the arrangement of the songs and making like snappy sections stand out. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. I could obviously tell you which I prefer, but without that'd be subjective. Objectively, neither is better than the other. You know, it's just an odd juxtaposition. But at the same time, I think that's what makes Hope and Hindrance, even though musically more effort has gone into making it technical and whatnot, Obsidian still is a tighter record, a tighter played, tighter performed and recorded and edited record, even though it doesn't have those super tight, snappy sections in. The whole way that Obsidian has been made sounds like a grown-up, well-formed metal band.
Yeah.
Hope and Hindrance sounds like a band of everything I say about it. In my own mind, sounds like I'm being insulted on, and I'm not, because I think it's a fucking great record by a great band. But it sounds like kids, not kids. It sounds like younger guys in their 20s. Do you know what I mean? And even down to the musical choices that they've made, which is what I was just saying about the, you know, that a lot of energy has gone into the arrangement of the songs. There's nothing immature about arranging a song correctly, but there's something about arranging a song in a way that you think people will react, saying, oh, that's clever, that comes across as immature in comparison to a record where they've just said, that sounds great, let's do that. And they haven't thought about what people will think.
Yeah. There's one point where they've got a movie quote in one of the songs on Hope and Hindrance that I've heard on about 7 other songs.
Yeah, it is on Shade, I think. Well, it might be Nightmare.
I was going to say, I think it's Nightmare.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to Obsidian, and it was like, hey, you like Obsidian? You might also like this. So I went onto this, and there was this band called what were they fucking called? Xeno something.
I don't. It doesn't ring a bell.
I can't remember what they were called. But it was like a similar-ish kind of band, like black metal influenced modern metal.
Yeah.
And it had like that exact quote, the same start and finish points even. And I was like, man, that must be a common quote. And I think it's like, especially amongst metal, because it's like one of those dystopian future,
like, is it taken from a film, you said? Because I'll be honest, I don't remember what the quote. I remember some spoken word in it, but I don't remember what it was.
I think it's from a film, and it's going on about like it's like a posh English dude talking about like how authority is controlling people and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's a common theme anyway, so it's bound to get kind of passed.
It is in metal because it's something to protest against, isn't it? I mean, in metal is essentially protest music.
Yeah,
or at least most subgenres of metal are protest music, and I guess if there's a common protest statement made in a film, I mean, it makes sense to a degree. But
yeah.
What are your standout tracks on each record?
The singles are really good on Obsidian. I mean, I only heard 2 or 3 singles before, I think.
Well, when you put onto them for the first time, they'd only drop 3 singles, but by the time they dropped the record, I think they'd put 5 or 6 out.
I think Delilah, the first time I heard it was when it's the first track on the album, so I mean that stood out immediately. Was a good tune.
Yeah, it's great.
Lamb to the Slaughter is a banger. I didn't know whether I liked it at first because I couldn't get on board with the synth, but I really, I dig it now. But it was just, the bit where they do the fast bit at the start, and the guitars follow the synth, and I'm like, but no, I dig it now.
Well, you know me for synth in metal, man. Generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of when synth and electronic sounds are put into metal, because 9 times out of 10, it's not that I dislike those instruments or sounds. I just feel like 9 times out of 10, the song doesn't need it. It was perfectly good without it. It didn't add anything. What I like about it in what Viscera have done is that it did add something. Like I think,
it's not massively overpowering.
Yeah, they've layered it. The mix is perfect because it's never too prominent. Like, you will hear it, but you might not notice what it is until you've heard it 5-6 times, and then you're like, shit, that's this sound or that sound, and it's only then that you realize how good the mix is, that it was always there and you never missed it. And if it was taken away, it wouldn't sound as good.
Thin,
but you never put your finger on what it was that you were hearing until you'd heard it multiple times. So I think the mix, actually, that's another thing about the Viscera. Well, actually about both. I think Hope and Hindrance is really well mixed.
Yeah,
like for power, for what they were trying to achieve.
It's all sampled drums as well. It's not even a real drum kit, but it still manages to not have that thin sound.
I didn't know that, but to be fair, in modern metal production, that's something that
it's quite common.
It's become common, yeah. So it's not something that I'm unless, like, if I'm listening to. I was listening to the Last Testament record yesterday, Titans of something. I can't remember what it's called. It just came out this year, and that's a good record. But Testament, you can hear that that's a real drum kit. You know what I mean? But in like more modern, tighter metal,
Yeah.
It's so common that I personally wouldn't necessarily notice that it's not a real drum kit.
The only reason I know is because I know the sounds that come out of Superior Drummer 3, like they're in my brain now.
Yeah, yeah.
So if they're using that, I'm like, right, okay, I know that drum kit.
But like you told me, the drums on the first Periphery record were samples.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that, to me, I mean, I'm not a drummer. I maybe don't have the ear for it. But the drums on that don't sound any different to like the drums on Select Difficulty that weren't a sample drum kit.
I'm not. I mean, don't quote me. I'm not 100% on that, but I feel like on later albums, Misha programmed them and then got Matt Halpin to play them.
Yeah.
But I think the first album is all digital tracked.
He is credited as the drummer on the record, but I guess that's just because he was the drummer in the band.
I could
Whether
be
he
wrong.
played on the album or not.
Let me see. Let me just Google.
While you have a look, my standout.
Also, I was just going to say. Also, Hammer and Nails is a banger. And
yeah, that was awesome.
On Hope and Hindrance, Around a Girl in 80 Days, We Stand as One, Shade, and Nightmare. They're the ones
Nightmare
that I would
for
like.
sure.
Yeah.
Like We Stand as One was the first song I heard off that record. So that's kind of always going to stand out to me because it's the one I know the most. I guess I'm more familiar with it. But objectively, it is a fucking great song. It's got a great riff. That gang vocal brings it to life. Like you want to shout along with them. You know what I mean? That's a great song. The one that follows it, Light, I think is just an interlude, isn't it? It's like only 2 minutes long, but it's lovely to listen to.
Bling, 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 bling.
Yeah, it's because it's not heavy. It is just like a clean interlude.
It's like Lilith
really
on Obsidian.
Nice. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Lilith, again, is kind of one of my standouts on that as well, just because it's what I think is really good about having an interlude is if you put it in the right place. To listen to it on its own, it sounds weird because it's like, why have they put that there? But if you listen to the album as a whole, it's a lovely break. It's like Eye of the Storm, you know? Yeah. You've gone in one side, you know you're about to come out the other, and it's going to get violent again. But it gives you the perfect balance to a record. And I think that in the case of both of these records, those little interludes are proof that the records were well planned from start to finish.
Yeah.
The track ordering was well thought out because no band writes just enough tracks to go on a record. They've written 20 and they choose 10 to go on the album. And putting a little interlude in like that tells me that they chose really well and they planned how it would listen from start to finish. Like they wanted you to listen to it start to finish. Nightmare is just a straight it's a boot in the chest from start to finish. A fucking great song.
When it kicks in after the bling bling in the middle bit.
It comes out of Shade, doesn't it? It comes straight out of Shade.
Yeah, but when it's got the voiceover bit, the yap 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 yap, when it's gibbering on about like disillusioning shit and like stuff. When he's going on about that, and then it comes in with that.
Yeah, man. It's just it'll kick the dick clean off you. It's Nightmare is a proper jawbreaker of a tune. It's fucking brilliant. I would argue better than We Stand as One. I would say I bet if you saw them live, We Stand as One is the one that's getting the fucking crowd.
Yeah,
with them. But as a record,
that or Around a Girl.
Yeah, Around a Girl's going to do it. That, like I say, that was the most visceral. Like, it really stood out to me as a tune that Jamie was he must have been a big part of the writing process for that particular song, at least.
Yeah.
If not all of them. I don't know what his input was other than lyrics, but I would assume that on that song he had some input musically, because I could be fooled into thinking Not in the whole song, but in parts of it, I could have been fooled into thinking that was Viscera. So it made me think like Jamie probably had a bigger input in that. But on Obsidian, pardon me, Immersed in Ire is track 2.
Yeah.
And I think that is fucking outstanding from start to finish. It does not let up. There's no relenting in. It's tiring. Like by the time that song's finished, I am tired. But it's fucking outstanding. And the one after that, I think, is Carpe Noctem. That is about as close to. It's not gang vocal as such, but it's as close to a crowd shouting back at you. That's the one that I think live would be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Obsidian, the title track, is fucking brutal as well.
Which one? Oh, there's a song where where's the chorus to it? There's a bit where it sounds like I had to listen to it about 10 times before I decided he wasn't saying "clean your pussy," and it's like
kind of wish he was now.
Oh, it's count your blessings, not your curses. What's
that's
that
Carpe Noctem.
Yeah, and he's like, count your blessings, not your curses. And I kept hearing clean your pussy, and I'm like, what? Really? That's what you're going with?
Like, Carpe Noctem, season night.
Carpe Noctem. Why you still can? Count your blessings, not your curses. I heard someone say.
That's it. I heard someone say. I could not fucking make that line out. That's what was annoying me, because that chorus is catchy as fuck.
Yeah.
So I wanted to sing along with it. And when it got to that bit, I was doing that classic Carpe Noctem, season night, driving along, fucking punching the windscreen in the truck, shouting it at other people. You know, as cars are coming past, they'll glance up and I'm fucking hitting the window and shouting at them. It's one of them tunes where you've got to get into it. You love it. But when it got to that bit at the end, count your blessings, not your... And I was just like, because I couldn't make out what he was saying.
Yeah, man. No, well, I kept hearing it because he's obviously like, all I'm hearing is clean your pussy, and I'm like, that can't be right. That can't be right.
No, that wouldn't fit. But now it's going to be in my head, and that's what I'm going to have to sing.
All of a sudden, it's become a hip hop album from the 90s.
Do you know? Speaking of lyrics, actually, you know, when we cast pod last time, I said I was listening to Billy Ocean.
Yeah. As you should be all the time.
Yeah, because Billy Ocean fucking rules. Which Billy Ocean tune is it where he sings about I'll be the sun shining on you. Tell me, baby, slip on your shoe. Cinderella, that's it. Cinderella.
Get out of my car, get out of my dreams, get into my car.
Get into my car. Now, for some reason, even though I know that line is I'll be the sun shining on you, Cinderella, slip on your shoe. For some reason, if it's on, if I'm singing along with it, that's what I'm singing, because I know that's the line. But if I just randomly start, you know, like if I'm earwormed and I'm just got that song in my head.
Yeah, like
I sing
just
different.
chopping up some shit in the kitchen.
Yeah, and because, I mean, it's so easy to earworm me. I'll get earwormed 10 times a day, you know? And these loops that go through in my head, obviously, I'm going to be singing them while I'm just getting on with my life. And for some reason, even though I know the lyrics to that song, I always sing them differently if the track isn't on while I'm singing. But it makes it sound like he's got a foot fetish, because I always sing, I'll be the sun shining on you, sexy baby, give me your shoe. That's what I sing in my head. But when the track's on, I know the line. That's it. I know the line is Cinderella, slip on your shoe. And I know when I'm listening to the song, that's what I'll sing. But when the song isn't on and I'm just singing it to myself, I always sing the wrong line. It's fucking weird. I'm aware I'm singing the wrong line, but if you told me to sing the right line, I wouldn't know what it was suddenly. I'd completely forget. Because in my head, it is just, well, that's right. Sexy baby, give me your shoe. Yeah, something like that. Lyrics are fucking weird, man. And I'm terrible at deciphering lyrics. And I'm even worse at fucking remembering them. I mean, when we play in the band, you use in-ear monitors.
I do indeed.
You can hear because you have my vocal reasonably high in your mix. You told me, didn't you?
Yeah, higher than my vocals.
So if you've got my vocal fairly high, you can hear my vocal better than I can. So when I know I'm getting lyrics wrong, if it's not too obvious,
sometimes.
I bet it does. But if it's not too obvious, I'll just get the lyric wrong, and it won't be too wrong. But if I know it's so wrong, like if I when you get a brain fart and your mind goes blank. If I don't know what the line is, when you
stop singing altogether and you're just like,
that's what I'm talking about. And I just have to like make noises that are in, as long as I make the right vowel sounds at the right time, the audio, that's it. So I sound like Rocky. And in the crowd, I back off from the mic a bit. So in the crowd, along with the full mix, they're not going to know, because they're just hearing the right vowel sounds. They're not going to notice in the crowd. They will not give a fuck. But I'm always aware that right behind me, and I can't turn around and look at you. I'm always aware that right behind me on the drum kit, you can hear me just saying, because I can't remember. I sound like I've had a stroke. But you can hear it even clearer than I can, because I don't have much of my vocal in my monitor mix. But you have more than I do. You can hear me fuck up. And I know I'm doing it, but at least I don't have to hear it.
It just gives me like a bit of reassurance that I'm not the only one hitting the wrong things. Like,
dude, can you imagine if do you know, it's testament to us as a band that we don't get complaints, that we must be able to cover each other up, because after any show, the four of us will talk.
Yeah, I can tear my own performance apart like nobody else.
Oh, we all will, but we're all our own worst critic. But it's deeper than that. It's like, it's not saying, oh, I didn't play very well because of this, that, or the other. It's more the obvious mistakes that the four of us all noticed one of us make. Like when Sam has a habit of playing the bass line perfectly, but it starts on the wrong fret, so he's always a semitone off. And either me or Dad has to like look at him, and he'll just smile at us and move his hand down. Yeah. And you're like, right, there we are. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, he knows he's doing it as soon as we look at him, and he'll slide his hand down. My problem's lyrics, but now and then I will. Well, I say now and then. Until recently, I bet I did it every gig for about 3 years. We play Everlong, and then we go into, oh fuck, I can't remember what it is, but I always kept it down in drop D. So I'd play the next song in drop when it was supposed to be in standard. Right. But I sometimes didn't notice till the end of the song, like we'd finished, and I'd just hit a chord and think, hold on, I didn't tune that back up. That's
fucking horrible.
But we've moved the set round, and it doesn't matter. Because if I go in drop D, you can guarantee, like Feeling Good. No one else tunes down for it, but for what I'm playing, I tune down into a drop D for Feeling Good. Yeah. And then straight after Feeling Good, I always forget to tune back up. And it's not like it's even a song where I can fluff it. It's fucking You Give Love a Bad Name after that. So I've got to play that riff. Dun, 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 dun. Well, if you're tuned down, you can't play that riff. So I will be in the first part of the riff to that song. I'll be thinking, this doesn't sound right. And I'll have to try and tune it up on the fly. I've got really good at tuning it back up on the fly while I'm singing in the middle of a song, because I've just been, due to my own fucking ineptitude, I've been forced to learn that skill. You know what I mean? It's the shit you do when you're on stage in a band that the crowd doesn't notice. There's no band on the planet that's professional, because they're only as professional as the audience perceive them to be. So if you're good enough to cover your own mistakes so the audience don't notice, you are technically professional at that point. I guess that's where we're at. The audience never notice our mistakes, but if they could hear our isolated instruments when they're sober and on their own, they would think we are fucking children picking those things up. It's ridiculous, the shit we do on stage. Anyway, so that's Hope and Hindrance and Obsidian by Heart of a Coward and Viscera, respectively. I guess the last thing to do regarding this would be to ask which you prefer. I won't
I'm
say. I
gonna say
purposely didn't say best because that's subjective. I just want to know your
very
opinion.
objective.
You know.
I think that currently, having only just picked up Obsidian this week, I would say I like Hope and Hindrance more, just because it's.
Yeah.
I've been listening to it for the last 7 or 8 years, and it's full of stone cold jams. So
Yeah, man. See, it only came on my radar. Heart of a Coward are a band I've always been aware of. And if I'm honest, I think I had heard a different Heart of a Coward record previous. But this is the record I'm most familiar with. But it only came on my radar maybe 2 years ago. Maybe less, maybe 18 months. Bollocks. So I don't have that kind of previous connection with it. Whether that has influenced me in any way or not, I mean, I don't know.
this,
But
the song "And Only Time Will Tell" was the first song that I learned that had like a weird bass drum pattern.
Yeah.
When I was starting out with Mercury, so I was like that. I focused in on that, and there's that middle section that's got that.
Yeah, it's much more genty.
And I'd never played anything like that, so I was like listening to that to death, and I was like, I fucking got it. And the first time I got it, I was like, shit. And so obviously, having listened to that and then gone on to the other tunes, I've just kind of had a connection with that since I started playing.
I know what
that
you
kind
mean.
of music.
You're going to have like a personal link to it at that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's one of the first bands of that type that you felt a connection to, I guess.
Yeah.
But I've got to admit, I feel like it probably won't come as a surprise the way I've been talking about the two. And don't get me wrong, I don't want anyone listening to this and thinking that I'm like down on Heart of a Coward or anything, because I'm honestly, I think they're a great band and I really do like Hope and Hindrance. I'm speaking about this purely in comparison to Obsidian. Viscera as a band are just more my kind of groove. You know, it's more my kind of jam.
Well, I could have told you that beforehand. It's got more ties to things that you have listened to outside of.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
bands.
I'm into the tech thing and the gent thing. I mean, I fucking love Periphery. I love Meshuggah. I've recently become again, it's a band I was aware of before, but it's only in the last few months, really 6 months or so, that I've really started to dig on After the Burial.
Yeah.
So I've gone back through their whole back catalogue and really got into that. But it's not that I'm not into the sound that Heart of a Coward make. It's just what Viscera make. I don't need to get into it. I'm already into. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like
just
you said,
more up my street.
You were listening to Testament the other day, and that wasn't because you had to. It wasn't because you were doing it for any reason other than you wanted to go and listen to Testament.
Yeah.
It's
well, I'll get round to that in a minute. That's what I wanted to move on to next, actually. But yeah, I mean, it's still true. Testament are a band I do listen to anyway. And it's just that Viscera are just more a band it's just more my groove, you know.
Just
it's
more up your street.
That's it completely. So I did prefer that. But Hope and Hindrance, like I said earlier, it's so well mixed and it's obviously well planned. Like each track lends itself to the one after. And it as such
really
is
well.
fed by the one before. It's a very, very well produced and thought out record.
Similar to what we were saying last time, though. So the first album, start to finish, it sounds like a band that's been playing those songs for fucking years and decided that's how they want them to be. The next album, I mean, I love the songs on it, but it doesn't sound like there's as much kind of time being spent on it.
I actually didn't spend much time listening to the second record, but the third I did.
It's Severance and then Deliverance, I think, isn't it?
No, Collapse. Collapse is the one that I listened to. No, sorry, Collapse is a song. Collapse is a song on Deliverance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Deliverance. The Disconnect came out last year.
Yeah.
And I didn't listen to it recently. I listened to it last year. And I do remember thinking that didn't sound like Heart of a Coward for some reason, but I couldn't. It didn't sound like Hope and Hindrance. It didn't sound
No.
like Deliverance. But it was still good. Musically, I think it probably was closer to Hope and Hindrance. But of course they'll have got the other vocalist back, won't he? The guy who did the EP, he's back on the Disconnect.
Is it the same guy?
I believe so. I could be wrong, but I believe they've done a kill switch and got the original guy back.
I wasn't sure if it was the same guy or whether they got another guy who has like a similar kind of style. I don't
Maybe
the
it's
new
just
albums.
that
I've
that's
been listening
fooling
to
me
them.
into thinking it. Maybe
I
it's
haven't
just that the
checked,
guy
if I'm
sounds
honest.
like him. No, neither have I. It's just kind of something I convinced myself of because he sounds like the dude on the original EP.
Mhm.
So I just told myself it was him, and I might completely be wrong, but that alone is enough to make it not sound. I like Jamie era Heart of a Coward.
Yeah.
You know, so
He's got such a powerful voice.
He's got an incredible voice, and again, this is testament to my love of that Viscera record. Is the melody that I talked about earlier that he'll come in and out of on top of some. I mean, he's up there with the best of the brutal vocalists.
Mhm.
He can go fucking super guttural in an almost death metal style. I think that album is like you mentioned that it sounds like it's got a black metal vibe to it. I think there's a lot of death metal sounds.
Yeah, man, for sure. Do you know it's there's vocal range on there that isn't on anything Heart of a Coward have ever done. There's like the high screams and the like super low brutal guttural growls that you don't get on Heart of a Coward. Heart of a Coward's much more hardcore focused.
Oh, without again, I mean the gang vocals alone is a hardcore sound, and then when you take his solo vocal sound into account, it is very. Again, everything I say about Heart of a Coward sounds like I'm bitching on. Yeah, and I'm not at all. But it's much more one dimensional vocally.
Yeah.
There's
not as much range in anything, but it's focused on what it does, and what it does is very
good.
Yeah,
they made a record with a clear intent in mind of what they wanted it to sound like, and they achieved it 110%. It was fucking bang on for what they were doing. But to a degree, I would also say that's what has aged. Not that it sounds old; it's super modern metal still, but it's caught in that early 2010s era of metal.
Yeah, man.
And
there's no solos either. There's fucking solos on Viscera. That made me happy.
Yeah, but that's to a degree that's a shame. Not on the Viscera side, on the Heart of a Coward side, because the guitarists in Heart of a Coward are excellent.
Yeah.
So I reckon that they probably have purposely written without solos because it didn't fit what their aim was. Yeah. Which again, it goes back to the point we're making about vocals and stuff. They've tied themselves into that era of 2012, you know, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but in 2020, that's audibly obvious. You know, it's an album of its time, and that doesn't make it bad. But Viscera's
there was a lot
Obsidian,
of other stuff like North Lane and stuff like that was coming out at the same time. I mean, nothing in that genre really has. Well, that's of a similar ilk. You know, it doesn't have solos. It's not built around solos. It's
not music that demands it.
No, I mean, there's kind of bands that would play on similar bills, like Born of Osiris.
Yeah, Born of Osiris.
And stuff like that, and After the Burial and stuff that's like built around fucking shredding, but they're not that kind of band.
No, that's it. And to a degree, you could argue it's cool that they haven't put the solos in because they're doing what they do, and that was part of their musical vision, so to speak. But I'd still argue that it ties that record especially to the era that it was made. Whereas Obsidian, I think in 10 years will still sound as fresh, and 10 years ago could have been released in exactly the same form and would have still been awesome. You know, they're not breaking any new ground. They're not reinventing the wheel in Viscera. They're just doing something that they want to do without regard for what's popular. And that appeals more to me, I guess. But I was brought up on Zeppelin, and I was born 3 years after Zeppelin split up. So I guess I've always got an affinity to shall we say, ageless stuff. And that Viscera thing, it appeals to me on every level. And yeah, I mean, if we're going to put a pin in that, I think they're both worth listening to. If anyone listening to this is not familiar with those bands and you like your shit down-tuned, heavy and violent, they will both fucking tick your boxes.
Yeah, if for nothing else, Jamie Graham's vocals are just fucking mental. He's like, he's not doing anything crazy that you wouldn't expect to hear, but he's just doing it so fucking well with so much power. There's just like so much nuts behind what he's doing.
I'd love to see him live.
I was so upset when he left Heart of a Coward out, and as far as I was aware, that was going to be it for him doing vocals. He was going in production and management. And I was like, oh, that's just a fucking massive loss because he's amazing. And then he came out with this, and it's just like, fuck, yeah, that's what I've been missing.
But when he came out with this, I think I mean, I'll be honest, I'm only comparing the two records rather than the two bands. So maybe people weren't so surprised as I was. But Hope and Hindrance compared with Obsidian, you can tell it's the same vocalist, but he's displaying a completely different set of skills on each.
Yeah, for sure.
And that to me is a sign of like a truly quality metal vocalist.
Yeah, and that's people like melody-wise and the way he sings is not.
He's got an incredible voice.
He has super fucking powerful. It fits what he's doing exactly.
Yeah, man.
But he's not the shapes and stuff that he's fitting in. They're not any different to what he was doing in Heart of a Coward. I feel like the difference is coming when it comes to the brutal parts, the screaming and the guttural parts. It's just it's another palette that is just gone, you know what, I'm going to do this shit now. It's all the really high stuff that I wasn't even aware that he could do.
I would love to see him live. Because that Viscera stuff makes me feel like if he can pull that off live, he is one of the greats. He's up there with Spencer Sotelo as being one of the great metal vocalists of our time, you know. But to be honest, I think even some of his cleans, what I loved about his cleans is that they're deceptively high. They don't sound uncomfortable. Like when Spencer Sotelo's high, they don't sound uncomfortable, but you know you can't do it.
Yeah.
When Jamie Graham goes up high, you don't think it's that high till you try and sing it, and then you're like, "Fucking hell, how did he do that?" Yeah. And I think that again is just because of the timbre of his voice, the whole tone of his voice, the build of his throat.
It's got that thick, low sound to it all the time.
Yeah, man, all the time. Even when he goes high, it just sounds super comfortable and attainable. And when you try it, you think, actually, this dude's fucking rangy, man. And then when he does that brutal stuff, but his guttural shit goes high as well. It's just fucking outstanding. Excellent records on both fronts. And definitely two bands you should check out. Even now Jamie Graham has left Heart of a Coward, I would still advise checking out Heart of a Coward with the new dude who might be the old dude. Because the other dudes are still the other dudes. And that band is fucking excellent. They're great at what they do. If anything, I'd say it's a shame they haven't got bigger because they've been doing it as long as the big boys of that particular subgenre, but they're not a band you often hear talked about. And I think it's a shame because they're just as good as After the Burial. Different, but
very different.
They could play on the same bill.
Yeah, not a stupid, like daft technical wise.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. But I mean, if you went to a show and like when we did Empiricon, if After the Burial and Heart of a Coward were there, that wouldn't have been odd. They
Yeah.
play on the same bill, and they're just they're just fucking great. Let's move on.
Let's move on. So, what are we going to wind up with? Because we've been
Right.
gibbering for
So
quite
I
a bit.
wanted to, yeah, man. I was thinking just as a closer, what have we been listening to? And this is why I mentioned when you said Testament earlier, and I was like, well, I didn't just listen to them because I like Testament. Every time we do this, we talk about what we've been listening to in the last,
Yeah.
few days, few weeks, whatever. And I decided basically I'm going to use that as an excuse to listen to lots of different stuff. Because if every week you ask me what I've been listening to, and my answer is Fit for an Autopsy and Gajira,
Yeah.
that's going to get boring pretty quick. So this week I started listening to some different stuff. I was taking influence from other podcasts. Obviously, I'm listening to other podcasts and stuff as well. Do you know
those guys?
Fuck those guys. Do you know the That's Not Metal podcast?
I do not.
So That's Not Metal. They're far more professional than us, and they're very well established. The dude
How
who
is that possible?
Well, I mean, their dicks aren't as big as ours, and they're not
Listen,
as good
mate,
looking.
I'm turning up to work drunk. I'm Googling stuff as we're fucking speaking. How is that not professional?
Mate, I'm in my pants as we speak.
Nice.
But
Send pics.
I'm not all in my
If you
pants.
could flop a nut out, that'd be awesome.
That's it, man. There is part of me that's not in my pants right now because it's
Don't
getting hot in
pretend
here.
like you're too fucking big.
No, it's just getting hot in here. I had to pull part of my pants down to expose.
I had to pull part of your penis out.
Yeah, just to I had to air off the underside because it was getting stuck. But yeah, so That's Not Metal podcast. I'll be honest, don't remember the presenters' names, but one of them is the dude that used to be he used to run Scuzz. And the other two dudes, I haven't heard their credentials, but I get the impression they work in music journalism. And these dudes know their shit. They talk about a lot of bands, and they seem intimately familiar with pretty much all of them. Bollocks. So I thought I'd take influence from them. When they mentioned a band and talked about it in a way that I thought that sounds interesting, I will pause that podcast. I'll go away. I'll listen to a bunch of that band.
Right.
So I've been doing that since we last recorded on Tuesday.
Okay.
Now, obviously, I'll talk about a lot of bands that I am familiar with, Testament being one of them. But I don't follow Testament so closely that I was aware they put a record out in the last couple of months.
Right.
So when they mentioned Testament,
me also.
This is it, man. I mean, this is old school American thrash. There aren't many bands still doing it. Well, there are a lot of bands still doing it, but they're not often talked about in mainstream metal press.
And they're dying out, man.
They are. They're going quick, to be fair. But yeah, so they mentioned Testament's record, so I put that on. So I was listening to Testament's record. I'm going to have to say what it's called. I know it's the Titans of something, and I cannot fucking think.
The Titans of
Titans of Creation. That's it. Titans of Creation. And
because twing isn't a thing.
No, that's not a word. It's good, man. If you like thrash, you dig it. But
I like some thrash.
Do you know what I thought about it was? People said it was like it's the best thrash album for years. And I'm like, well, maybe, but it's Testament. It's like they've been doing this since the fucking late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It's an excellent record, and every band has their era of putting out some, their weaker times. They're not in a weak time at the moment. They're putting out good work, but the Testament drop a record every fucking 2 years. Without doubt, they're consistent as fuck. So if you like Testament, you're going to like this record.
Yeah, I guess it's like AC/DC of thrash.
Oh, without a doubt. And I heard what they said something on That's Not Metal that I thought was actually really true. Someone had mentioned how this was the best thrash record of 2020, which sounds on the surface a bit strange because how many thrash records is 2020 gonna produce? How many has it produced so far? But
yeah, like 1/3 into the year.
you know what I mean? So it's the best thrash record of 2020 isn't really much of an accolade. But when you think about it, Megadeth are putting an album out this year as well. And Megadeth are, aside maybe from, well, I mean, now Slayer have gone. Creator still put out some fucking insane thrash. But
I struggle
Megadeth,
to call Megadeth thrash though. There's a certain
I think
sound
they're
that
thrashy as
there's a
fuck.
sound that goes along with thrash, like when
It's
you
got to be
listen to
thin.
Slayer. When you listen to Slayer and you're listening to Slayer, and it's like there's still a messiness to it, even on the slower tracks, like stuff on God Hates Us All. There's
Yeah, man.
that slower kind of like more heavy metal sound to it. There's still a messiness to it, and
Yeah.
I've never heard that on
I think that's Rick
anything
Rubin's
by
production
Megadeth.
because everything's dry
Possibly.
as fuck on a Rick Rubin record. And with what I think is thrashy about Megadeth is when a solo kicks in. As soon as a solo kicks in, you know you're listening to thrash because it's not the solo that makes it thrash; it's what's happening under it, and they're thrashy as fuck. And Testament are a great band, and Chuck Billy is a thrash god. But to say that's the best thrash record of 2020, just a few months before Megadeth put out their next record, just seems a bit preemptive. But yeah, I've been listening to Testament.
I guess it might be the argument that it's the best one so far, but not necessarily the best one in that's going to be.
I think the sentiment of what was said, and I am taking this directly from the That's Not Metal podcast. It was someone had written in or something, and that's what this dude said. I think the sentiment was
nothing's going to top it.
With Slayer gone, are Testament now the official kings of thrash? They have just put out the best thrash record of 2020 or whatever. And what one of the presenters on That's Not Metal basically said, I think Megadeth might have something. No, he said, I think Creator might have something to say about that because Creator are an out and out thrash fucking tornado and they're still going. So to say Testament of the Kings of Thrash, what this guy was getting at when he posed the question was Metallica don't really do thrash anymore.
No,
Slayer are gone. As you said yourself, Megadeth, are they really thrash? They're days,
very metal, but I don't feel the thrash element so much.
Anthrax have kind of sworn off thrash, and they haven't really done that old school thrash in a long time. So with the big four of thrash gone, Testament were always number 5. Does that make them the kings of metal? But what this dude who was the presenter was saying, his point was they were number 5 in record sales. They weren't number 5. When you look at the big four, outside of the big four, who were the thrashiest of the thrash? Well, Creator are far more thrashy than Testament. So I guess they're the new kings of thrash. And then one of the other guys was like, it's a bit preemptive to say it's the best thrash record of 2020 when Megadeth, we know Megadeth are dropping a record this year.
Yeah.
And you know it's going to be good. So, yeah. So anyway, I was listening to, all that comes from me listening to Testament because I mentioned it. But they put me onto a few bands. And I'll be honest, some of them were not for me. Boston Manor, you familiar with them?
What kind of music is it?
Radio 1 metal, I'd call it.
I struggle with stuff like that, like
I
Bullet for My Valentine and stuff. It makes me
no, I mean more. Imagine Royal Blood, but
like rock,
but
like heavy
heavier
rock stuff.
Yeah, but I guess with a metal, not aesthetic, but
the name rings a bell. I feel like I might have heard them. I've probably heard.
Yeah, well,
if they've been on Radio 1, then I've probably heard them.
Well, this is why I listened to them. They mentioned them on this podcast. I'm like, I know that name. They were reviewing their new album, Glue. Bollocks. And I thought, fuck it, I'll give that a listen. And I didn't listen to a single song all the way through. I got like 30 seconds to a minute into each track, and I'm like, fuck this. It wasn't for me. To me, it wasn't. It was rock, which I dig, but it wasn't the kind of rock I'm into. Like I like Royal Blood, but this was like Royal Blood I don't know how to describe it. Give it a listen, Boston Manor. It might be up
I'll
your
try
street,
it.
but
I'll try it.
did nothing for me. Loathe, I did know, and I did like what I listened to from them. I listened to Loathe.
They're doing some big shit at the moment. Like they just seem to be going from strength to strength. Like with
Yeah, and I
regards
think
to
it's
them.
deserved too.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. I've played with them a few times.
Have you? Well, Boston
Yeah.
Manor are a little bit like them, but they're Loathe light. It's like they it's like almost we've got our own sound, but people would like us more if we sounded like Loathe.
Right, I get you.
And Brand New. Do you know Brand New?
I know Brand New. Yeah, they're an old band.
Yeah,
they're not a brand new band at all.
No, no, not at all. Well, Boston Manor want to be brand new.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay. I'll give it a bash.
So, yeah, it was. I mean, maybe it'll be up your street. It did nothing for me, but Loathe I already knew, and Brand New I already knew, and Boston Manor. I think I'd heard the name, but I wasn't familiar with the music, and it did nothing for me. And it's not bad music. It just didn't do anything for me.
It's just not your thing.
Nah, not really. But I tell you who I was really impressed. Oh, the other one that I listened to, they mentioned The Used, and I had to listen to The Used.
They got a new album
record.
out.
Yeah, well, that's the one I listened to, and it is a sack of shit from start to finish.
Really?
It's terrible. It's terrible. I just didn't dig it at all.
I'm gonna give it a go because I mean, people were going on online about how it's called Heartwork, and Carcass already have an album called that.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to fucking mistake The Used for Carcass.
Exactly, and
it
doesn't bother me. There's 1,000,001 albums that are called the same as 1,000,001 albums.
Exactly. The Power of Love. How many fucking individual songs are called The Power of Love?
Yeah, exactly. I can think of 3 off the top of my head.
Yeah, man, and they were all fucking huge as well. It never bothered anyone.
No one gives a shit.
People moaning.
So I'll give it a listen. And try it out because I do like The Used. And theoretically, depending on whether the festival goes ahead, which it looks like less likely every day the pandemic goes on, but I think they're supposed to be playing Riot Fest. I think.
I bet they'd be fun live, but like the Taste of Ink, was that big kind of. I struggle to say big break, but it was a big single for them.
Yeah.
There, to me,
that album.
That's a big album. What's that record called?
It is called. What's it's called?
It's not Lies for the Liars, is it? It was before that.
It's the first. In Love and Death.
In Love and Death, that's it. Yeah, because Lies for the Liars is a record I was familiar with. But they're not a band I don't like. They're just a band that kind of passed me by, and I wasn't into any of it, if I'm honest. But they're a band I'm familiar with, and they mentioned this new record, Heartwork. So I thought I'll give that a listen. And it just it's fucking all over the place. It's so incoherent. Nothing on it seems to gel with what came before or after. Even within songs, like within one song, when it starts as one thing, then it's got something else in the middle, then it's another thing for the chorus, then it's back to that thing it started with, and I couldn't get on board with it. But my biggest problem with it was how much pop injection it had. Like,
there seems to be a lot of that going on nowadays. Like, I mean, a day to remember, one of my favorite bands, and their new album seems like it's going to be a lot of pop, very, very pop influenced rock.
It's, to me, it seems we have a guest. You all right, mate?
Yeah.
All right, Ethan.
I just wanted to say that I've finished Spider-Man again.
Have you finished Spider-Man again?
Yes.
He's like Spider-Man PS4, right?
I have never played it, but I want to.
He finished it. Oh God, how long ago? Was it last week, mate?
I finished it 3 days ago.
He's 9. He finished it 3 days ago. He's just finished it again.
In 2 days.
In 2 days.
Because I started.
And he didn't even play it yesterday.
I've got to ask, what am I doing with my life?
Did not.
Do you want to say hello, mate? Say hello into the microphone.
Yeah, sure.
Come and say hello.
Hi.
Dude,
What's up, Ethan?
name. Yeah. So this is my boy Ethan. Dude, name 3 metal bands.
Metallica, Led Zeppelin, and Mastodon.
Yeah, that'll do,
Nice.
man. That'll do. No, I'm not sure Zeppelin qualifies as metal, but you know what? I'm going to take
do you know
it.
what? When, they were in that holy or unholy trinity, weren't they?
Well, to be fair, that's the unholy trinity of hard rock.
And heavy metal.
Sabbath, Purple, and Zeppelin, weren't it?
Yeah.
So, dude, do you need something, man?
Yeah.
Are you hungry or you want a drink or something? Yeah, get what you want, mate. No worries.
Go get yourself some milk, dude.
Can't believe you finished it again. I haven't finished it yet.
I haven't even played it.
I'm on 65%. He's just told me. He's been checking up on me.
I like the sound of his voice as well. He's like lolling at you. He's like,
Oh, he's
"You're
totally
only
trolling
at
me as we
65%,
speak.
you bitch."
Isn't it? That's exactly what he's doing. He's just laughing at me now. He's standing in the kitchen. Dude, I'm taking away all your Xbox privileges. Yeah, man, because you use my Xbox account to play.
To
So
kick your
fuck
ass
you.
and con you.
Oh, man. So, no, dude, it's getting late. Well, it's already late. Get what you want, but then I want you to brush up your teeth, wash your hands, wash your face, get yourself ready for bed, mate. All right, it's getting late. Good man. Well, when you've sorted yourself out ready for bed, mate, it's late. Right, I've got a podcast to do. Shut up, piss off. So, yeah, they just passed me by. There's moments of pop influence in it that, and when I say pop influence, I don't mean like in the songwriting, because they were kind of commercial anyway. It's more in the, how do I put it? It's more in like the instrumentation that suddenly, like there's one track, I don't remember what it's called. Every song seems to have a fucking guest on it. And there's one track, and randomly, just in the chorus, this electronic beat comes in instead of the drum kit. And it just seems
like
random
what
as
they're trying
fuck.
to do.
I didn't
So
like
there's
it.
like there's moments when like AFI do stuff like that, and it works. So I wonder whether that's what they're going for, but like without listening to it, I don't know. But yeah,
I don't know.
I'll give it a
I
listen.
didn't
I'll
dig
see
it.
what I think. But
Because you're far more eclectic than I am. I mean, I'm pretty eclectic, but you far more than me. And I didn't dig it. That doesn't mean you won't. You know what I mean? But there was one band that I was listening to, and I am genuinely fucking blown away. They were awesome. I'm going to have to. They're pretty fucking. I wouldn't mind being blown away by them. But see what I did?
I see what you did. I think you
so
made an
band,
oral sex joke, if I'm not mistaken.
You're fucking right, I did, because oral sex with me is a joke.
Where is it?
Cheers, man. There's so this band, they're called Umbra Vitae. UMBRA VITAE.
Come on, you fucker.
They are a bit of a super group, right? It's the singer, I don't remember his name. It's a singer from Converge. It's the drummer from Job for a Cowboy. It is either the bass or guitarist from oh fuck me, who was it? Everyone in Umbra Vitae is from a different established band. But this is a bit like Viscera to a degree. The dude, oh man, what's his fucking name? The singer from Converge. He's the vocalist.
Off the top of my head, I keep thinking of
Brandon, but I think it's wrong.
Let me get him up.
Braden, something like that. I can't remember his name, but so he's a hardcore singer. Converge are a hardcore band.
Yeah.
This is death metal.
Really?
Like it. Oh, fuck
Bannon,
yeah.
Jacob Bannon.
Jacob, that's it. So.
Oh, fucking Red Chord's guitarist's in him.
Red Chord, that's it. It's the Red Chord's guitarist.
Guitarist. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Red Chord's fucking bassist as well. Jesus.
Yeah, man.
How have I not heard of this band?
But you know what's really fucking surprising about it is all these bands, so they're all hardcore bands.
Red Chord, well,
except maybe Job for a Cowboy, they're not really hardcore.
Red Card were like in the death scene, but they kind of got ripped apart
Right.
by a lot of people. Like people used to say like, I remember watching one interview where somebody said to them, okay, so it's been said that Red Card is to death metal as Mariah Carey is to death metal.
That's a fucking proper burn.
Oh, it's so brutal.
Harsh.
And
That's
I
harsh
think
as
his reply
fuck.
was, "We're not a death metal band. I don't give a fuck." And anyway, Mariah Carey's pretty fucking brutal.
Well, at least he was fucking
He
going
took
along
it,
with
man.
it.
Yeah.
Man. But no, what's cool about the Red Chord connection actually makes a lot of sense because this band are fucking death metal.
I love the Red Card, man.
Well, so the Red Chord
I've seen them like 3 or 4 times.
I know the name. I don't know if I know anything by them. Obviously, I know Hatebreed.
Yeah.
So when I found out it was the Hatebreed guitarist and the singer from Converge, the drummer from Job for a Cowboy, instantly I'm thinking, well, it's a hardcore band. But it's talked about as a death metal band, and I'm like, I've got to listen to this now. But you know, when you listen to it, what's really cool, bollocks. What's really cool about it when you listen to it is that it is death metal, but with a hardcore vocalist, and I've never heard that done before.
Well, I am definitely going to give that a bash now.
Yeah, that's. I was listening to that as well. That's my listening experience. Testament, Umbra Vitae, The Used, and whoever the fuck the other Boston Manor. That's in the last 4 days. That's what I've spent my time listening, as well as obviously Hope and Hindrance and Obsidian. So over to you. What's been your listening?
It's much less metal related. Obviously, I've been listening to the songs, the albums that we were talking about, but I had a real strong hankering for Pantera, so I've been listening to some Pantera.
That's weird, man. Last week, out of the blue, I just like had a craving, and I had to listen to Far Beyond Driven, like start to finish.
Yeah, I don't know what it was with me. What was this? I must have been listening to something that had like a riff, and I was thinking, shit, that's really fucking Dimebag Darrell-y, and then gone, you know what, I want to listen to some Pantera. That's generally how it happens with me.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, Pantera. What else? A bit of A Day to Remember, but not so much this week. I was listening to Mechanics of Dysfunction by Beneath the Massacre.
Beneath the Massacre, that's not a band I'm overly familiar with either.
They're
worth a listen.
Yeah.
With a name like that, they've got to be like a death band, sure.
Yeah, it's I'd say I feel like they are death metal. They're kind of deathcore, but not like deathcore. Like they've got a hardcore element to their death metal more than
sounds like Umbra Vitae.
Yeah, there's not
well
vocally. I'd say they're more vocally, musically, pretty much 100% death metal-y. But then every now and again there'll be like a kind of a break in it that you're like, it doesn't fit the same way you'd expect it to. They're a good band. That album in particular, that's my favorite album by them, I think.
What's it called? The Mechanics of Dysfunction.
Yeah, Mechanics of Dysfunction.
Give that a go. That sounds good, man.
It's good. You'll probably like it. There's those, and there is Misery Index. Do you know them?
I know the Misery.
Similar to Misery Index, yeah. They're all they used to play on the same kind of bills as Misery Index. So
yeah, so they'll be a bit like Carnifex and stuff as well. Then.
Yeah, maybe a little bit heavier, but or maybe not even heavier. I don't even know if heavy is the right word, but there's something else to them.
Carnifex we spoke about before because I couldn't get on board with that because of the electronic element.
I quite like
cropped. It's not that I dislike them. I just think it was unnecessary. This is exactly my point with electronic, like synth sounds and stuff in metal. Viscera did it perfectly.
Yeah,
where it was mixed low, you knew it was there. It wasn't mixed so low that you'd miss it, and it had to be pointed out. You knew it was there, but you didn't actively think about what it was and consider it.
Yeah,
Whereas
I think Lamb to the Slaughter is about as far as I can go with it. That's about as high in the mix as I'll accept it before I want to go. Fucking behave yourselves, children.
Exactly my point. And Carnifex, they push it in your face. It's top of the mix. And I'm like, that is not fucking necessary in this song. It was good till that came in. Lower it in the mix and I'm on board. But don't fucking make a point of saying, look, we're a metal band that uses electronics. And I don't know. I can't get on board with that electronic sound being prominent in the metal because it takes something away from the song rather than adding to it.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of leaning towards that whole black metal thing, isn't it? Like black metal is all about the synth. And
Very
there's a few
true.
hardcore bands that have it. Like I always fucking forget the name when I'm trying to. They've got a keyboard player, a female keyboard player called Marta, and I always forget the fucking name of the band. I
don't know what you mean.
But anyway, hang on, let me Google it because it's going to piss me off if I don't remember it.
While you Google that,
let me finish what I'm saying about me bands I've been listening to anyway. Metal. So I was listening to that band that I got put onto from listening to Viscera was Xenobiotic, they're called. Or Xenobiotic.
Xenobiotic.
Yeah.
With an X.
With an X. I wasn't massively into them. They're all right, but it's not my cup of tea. It's like, I got put onto it from Viscera, so it's similar kind of in a way to that, but there's something in it that's just doesn't gel with me. I can't.
I have just found them and followed it, so I'll have a listen to that this week and let you know next time we record.
I was listening to Lamb of God for one day. I was listening to Metallica for a day.
Oh yeah, I checked out. You mentioned last time. Fuck me, what's it? New Colossal Hate.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that song. I listened to it the other day.
Very Lamb of God.
I haven't got anything to say about it other than that. It's Lamb of God.
It is 100% all Lamb of God all the time.
Yeah, if you like Lamb of God, man, yeah, it's great. And I like Lamb of God, so I liked it. Yeah. But what else can you say about it?
No, that's it. I think everything they're releasing at the moment is fitting into the Lamb of God box. They're not trying to do anything different because they've made some changes. They don't want to do anything stupid and like push
that ain't
people
a bad
away.
thing.
No,
ain't
but
a bad
I think
thing.
the next album they'll maybe
like
start like changing some stuff. They might start advancing in other areas. I'm kind of glad that there's not as much at least in the tracks that they released, there's not as much singing. Because I didn't really like what Randy was doing with the singing. I didn't feel it. It wasn't what I was listening to Lamb of God for.
Yeah, his vocals are on form. He was on form the day he recorded New Colossal Hate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to hear out of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that was good.
And I blasted a bit of Elvis because I don't know what, when we were playing the other day, when we were playing
on
Sniper Elite.
Yeah.
I had a real hankering for Elvis just before we started playing. So that's what I was listening to all the time. I was shooting you in the fucking face, poning you fucking noobs.
You totally were as well. Elvis
apart
is
from
not
when
something...
fucking who was it? Gav fucking came in and just started fucking rinsing.
Oh no, it was Jamie. Jamie came in and just
started rinsing me.
He was playing on PC.
And he wasn't even talking. He was like this silent sniper just fucking picking me off and then not even laughing at me. And I'm like, what is this?
Because he was using that PS Now thing on his PC. So he was doing it like mouse and keyboard. And he was just fucking teaching us a lesson. He was showing us how you do that.
Bleeding Through was the band that's got Marta as the keyboard player.
Oh, yeah. I know him, yeah. Are they the dudes that played a lot? They're like proper pals with Hatebreed.
Yeah. There's those. So there's Bleeding Through. There is.
Oh no, I'm thinking Sick of It All. That's
Sick of It All. Also, Sick of It All is super old school. First Blood. They used to play. Half of the band came from Hatebreed and Terror. So
I know Terror. Terror are mint.
yeah, well, there's like this whole kind of like incestuous scene where like they're not all even from the same place, but the share band members because Hatebreed are from like Connecticut, I think. But there's like this whole like New York, LA, and it seems Connecticut kind of like sharing system that they have between band members.
Yeah.
San Francisco is where First Blood's from.
I like New York hardcore. I mean, I think Madball are probably my favourite hardcore band.
Yeah, decent band for sure.
And it still to this day fucking pisses me off that Infiltrate the System is not available on Spotify for some reason.
It's not my favourite album, but yeah, it's like when I was listening.
I love the production is the thing. It's not got the best songs
the tightest album up until that point. At least it's definitely the tightest recorded album.
That's it. It's not got the best songs on, but you put that on and turn it up, and that is fuck it. That's what hardcore sounds like. And it genuinely fucking pains me that I can't listen to it in the car. I wish that shit was on Spotify.
Motherfuckers.
So bad.
So yeah, that's my listening experiences of the week and pet crushes of metal and hardcore from a bygone era.
You know far more about the ins and outs of metal than I do. Oh, I've got a yawn on. And
I didn't notice. It's okay. I think you got away with it.
Yeah, I reckon I slipped that under the radar. Yeah, you know far more about the ins and outs, and I think it's nice that while we're recording and this is going out, I can fully admit I'm not familiar with that band, and then you can tell me about the band, you know?
Well, if I know about
I like that. There aren't many bands you don't know about, I don't think.
Well, I didn't know about
Umbra Vitae.
Umbra Vitae, yeah.
But to be fair, they literally just dropped their first record, and as soon as you looked them up, you knew everyone that was in the band.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
You know what I mean?
I honestly am very surprised that I've never heard of them. But then I guess you only know what you kind of search for, what you see.
Yeah, man, completely. I reckon they, as a band, have maybe been under the radar because I wasn't familiar with them at all, and I wouldn't. My ear is not to the ground in the slightest, but when they were mentioned on That's Not Metal, so I looked them up and I found the same thing you did, like Hatebreed guitarist, Job for a Cowboy drummer, Converge singer. It's like, I had exactly the same thought as you. How did I not know about this project beforehand?
Yeah.
Why have I only just heard about it after the album's dropped already? So, but I really enjoyed it. It's proper death metal, but it's an odd sound because it's still that Jacob Bannon vocal on top, that Converge hardcore vocal on top.
Converge were never my favorite band. I've said this to my my mates who are like Converge fanboys before. They're seminal in a lot of ways, but I
think they're very, very important in the scene.
Yeah, but it was just too kind of like noisy and visceral to me, like at the time when I was getting into it.
Do you know what I like about it? They're not my favorite hardcore band, but him and Frank from Gallows are my two favorite hardcore vocalists because he's a lot like Frank from Gallows in the way he screams. It's not deep and guttural.
No, it's not like he's got any kind of like form for it. It's just
he's just screaming.
It's like rage.
Exactly, it's pure rage. And what's weird is over death metal, it fucking works. I was into it, man. Have a listen, and next time we record, tell me what you thought. And I dig it. I think maybe you'll like it. I reckon it's your turn because I chose Hope and Hindrance versus Obsidian. So I reckon next time it'll be your turn. Not that you're on the spot and you've got to choose it now. If you don't want, I mean, if you've got an idea, fucking put it to me, man.
I'll have a look, and I'm not sure. I'm gonna look at what new metal albums are out and see if there's anything decent coming up decent that's just come out by kind of established bands.
Yeah,
and we'll go from there.
sounds good, man. And I think we did a thing.
We did a thing. I think it is time to sign out, eh?
I reckon so. So I'll do all the bullshit, the housekeeping and shit. We should probably do this at the top so we don't have to fuck around at the end like this.
Yeah.
So find us on Facebook. Search Heavy, all caps, or at Phil and Dave EA. You'll find us on Facebook, and then all of these links are pinned to the top of that page. But just so you know, you can tweet us at @and_excellent. You can hit us up on email at philanddaveea@gmail.com. If you're listening to this and I'm telling you where to find us, this is a bit irrelevant, but you can get us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the new Google Podcast platform. And in fact, basically any podcast platform. Just search Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventure. If you feel inclined to donate, you can get us on Patreon, Bite Back Media. Just search that on Patreon. And possibly most important is YouTube. Again, just search Bite Back Media. Hit up our pals on the network, Wayne, who had to change his name recently. It's no longer the Second Turnbuckle. It is now the Wrestle Podcast.
I thought you were saying he had to change his name, like fucking Joe Lycett changed his name to Hugo Boss.
No, what happened was
he had to go into hiding.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's in Witsec. He's now called Sydney, and he lives in Texas. But
which is confusing in the best of times.
Yeah, especially since I just referred to him as Wayne and then told everyone his new name and where he lives.
Yeah.
But no, there was a wrestling podcast already called the Second Turnbuckle, but they haven't done anything. They've had the name for like 3 years, but they haven't done anything with it. And then they just started producing podcasts. And from what I gather, it was just bad luck. Wayne put his first episode out 2 days before they did, but they've got proof that they actually had that name as a vlog 3 years ago.
So when they were vlogging 2 or 3 years ago, did they actually release any videos?
Yeah. I mean, it all seems to have been resolved quite amicably. They got in touch with Wayne and said, you've been putting podcasts out under this name, but we've been using it for years, and we are now going to put podcasts back out. We've just recorded like the first 2 episodes. And Wayne basically said, look, if you can, I did search for the name to make sure it wasn't taken. I couldn't find anything. If you can prove that you had this name before me, because my episode has just come out, then I'll change it. And they proved it. So he was like, right, fair enough. And he's changed his name to the Wrestle Podcast. Yeah. So you can get Wayne.
He should have changed it to the Not Real Wrestling Podcast.
Not Real Wrestling. Yeah, man, wrestling. Yeah.
It's not real wrestling.
That sounds Canadian as fuck. And so you can get us on all of those, all that shit that I just said. You can get Wayne on the Wrestle Podcast. If you dig on films and TV, you should definitely try Screen Masters, again on all your different podcast platforms, and you can find them on Facebook at the Screen Masters, and all their links again are pinned to the top of the page. What's most important about all of this is wherever you find us, like it, subscribe, leave a review. You've got no idea how much it helps for us to build in the algorithms on all of these different platforms when you get regular likes, subscribes, reviews, 5 stars, things like that. Do you know what? Just for my own entertainment, leave us bad reviews if you want, because I will fucking read them out on mic. I just think it'll be funny, man. Just tell your friends if you like it, if you don't like it. Just keep commenting, keep joining in. If you want to get in touch, if you've got any questions, if there's something you want us to cover, fucking do that. I'm a bit pissed, so I'm just
Yeah, me too,
slurring, and I don't know what I'm talking about.
If you
anymore.
like titties, there's Pornhub and X Hamster.
Yeah, man, you can do that.
And we did a thing.
If you want to see pictures of dead bodies, you can do like Live Leak and Rotten.com and shit. The internet
Is Rotten.com
is a weird
still a thing?
place.
Fucking hell. I remember that when I was like first learning about the internet.
Dude, I will never forget the first day I found out about Rotten.com and I saw a photo of a dude who had been hit by a fucking helicopter rotor blade.
Jesus. No,
Yeah.
the first thing I ever saw on Rotten.com was a guy who'd come off his bike and he had one of those open face helmets and he just like had his jaw ground off and his tongue was hanging out.
I don't want to laugh, but that sounds funny as fuck.
Jesus, man, it's horrific. When you're like fucking 14, you're like, what the fuck is this?
I'm not squeamish at all, and I have seen some nasty shit. Like, you know, these terrorist beheading videos and stuff.
Yeah, I avoid them like the plague.
I don't go looking for them. Someone sent me one of them once, and my reply was, "Why the fuck did you send me that?" And how did you even find it to send it to me?
And why am I masturbating?
Yeah, but you just ruined my joke because I was just going to say when I'd like to come off my chest, I was annoyed at him. But no, in all honesty, that was a true, not the wanking bit, but that was a true story. Someone sent me that once, and I got back to him like, "Why did you think I'd want to watch this?" But his answer was, "Well, did you watch it?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I did, because you sent it to me, so I opened the video." But why? I'm not denying I watched it. I want to know how you knew I'd watch it. But it was yeah, I've seen some nasty shit. The internet is a fucked up place. So maybe we can bring a few laughs to it and brighten it up a little bit. Just you and me. It's just you and me, Phil, versus fucking the Kennedy assassination, the flat earthers, and fucking beheading videos.
For sure, man. Peace out. Send nudes. Show us titties. But
I don't want to see no nudes.
Unless it's dude nudes.
I was just going to say, unless it's you.
Oh, you can have my nudes all day.
Yeah, man.
I sent you one earlier. It wasn't really my penis, not going to lie.
To be fair, dick aside, I was genuinely offended because your watch was wrong. Like, we were just about to sit down and record at like 11 o'clock and that it said like 10 to 2 on that picture. I was like, for fuck's sake, man, why are you even looking at your watch? It's so wrong.
How do you like my new watch? With fucking underneath.
Yeah, man. Right, fuck this.
Right, fuck this
I'm
shit.
out.
Yeah, me too. Have a lovely evening and week and fuck the shit.
Laters, I'm out. Gone. Bye.